8 months have passed since the beginning of the Russian special military operation in Ukraine. In recent weeks, the front lines in the eastern and southern regions have been gripped by heavy positional battles. At the same time, none of the opposing sides managed to advance. The Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, continue to strengthen their positions in the Kherson, Zaporozhye and Kharkov regions, while the Russian military repels all Ukrainian attacks in these regions, steadily advancing in the Donbass. On October 24, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported that Russian forces repelled attacks by the AFU in 4 directions. Ukrainian attempts to break through Russian defenses in the Kupiansk, Krasny Lyman, southern Donetsk and Nikolaev Kryvyi Rog directions failed. In the Kharkov region, the AFU launched several attacks at once. Up to 3 motorized infantry companies of the AFU attempted to advance from their positions east of Kupiansk and attack Russian forces near the settlements of Pershotravnovoy, Orlyanka and Berestovoy. Local sources reported that the attack was carried out by servicemen of the Ukrainian 71st Chasseurs Brigade, reinforced by 2 companies of the Special Operations Forces. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, about 25 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 1 tank, 5 armored personnel carriers and 4 pickups were destroyed. Ukrainian units were forced to step back to their military positions. In the area of Krasny Lyman, the AFU continue to prepare for a large-scale offensive on the town of Kremenaya from several directions. Ukrainian forces are reinforcing their positions along the Torskoy-Terny line to the west of Kremenaya. At the same time, they continue their attempt to take control of the village of Chervonopopovka, Krasnopopovka, located 10 kilometers to the north of the town and cut the road between Kremenaya and Svatovo. On October 22, the AFU managed to approach Krasnopopovka, but the servicemen of the 20th Army of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation repelled the attack and regained almost all the lost positions. On October 24, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported on another failed offensive of the AFU in the area. 2 Ukrainian mechanized companies attempted to break through Russian defenses towards the village of Chervonopopovka in the LPR. Ukrainian units were pushed back by Russian forces, supported by artillery and aviation. More than 20 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 2 infantry fighting vehicles were destroyed. The Ukrainian military is expected to continue their attacks in order to take control of the heights to the west of Chervonopopovka, which would let them deliberately shell the strategically important road used for the Russian military supplies in the region. At the same time, the battalion of the 54th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine launched an offensive operation near the village of Belagorovka, located south of Kremenaya. The operation also did not lead to any territorial gains. In the southern regions, the AFU also continue unsuccessful attempts to break through Russian defenses in several directions. After several failed large operations, the command of the AFU makes up for losses and conducts reconnaissance of the positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation before the next assault. On October 24, the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Battalion Tactical Group of the Armed Forces of Ukraine unsuccessfully attacked the positions of Russian troops in the areas of the settlements of Bruskinskoye, Pyatakatki and Trifonovka on the northern front lines in the Kherson region. In the morning, 2 companies of the 3rd and 8th Separate Regiments of the Special Operations Forces of Ukraine attempted to launch another reconnaissance by combat operation in the area. They were later reinforced by servicemen of the 17th Battalion of the Territorial Defense of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. This column was detected by the Russian Orlan 30 UAV. The Su-25 attack aircraft in the Russian Aerospace Forces, VKS, as well as artillery units, struck at the accumulation of AFU. More than 80 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 11 armored fighting vehicles and 15 cars were destroyed. The local authorities claimed that the Ukrainian assault group was captured on the northern front lines in the Kherson region this morning. Details were not given. At the same time, another Ukrainian operation failed in the area of the village of Andriivka. An assault group of the 46th Separate Airmobile Brigade of the AFU attempted to gain a foothold in the area north of Ishchenko. Russian troops uncovered the movement of the Ukrainian group and launched an artillery strike on the areas of advance, forcing the enemy to retreat. Meanwhile, the AFU are shelling the Kharkovskaya HPP. Ukrainian militants are actively shelling the town of Novaya Kakhovka in the Kherson region. In total, 19 missiles were fired with HIMARS and Alka MLRS. Almost all the missiles were shot down by air defense, but 3 of them hit the target. There are no critical destructions of the Kakhovskaya hydroelectric power station, however. The footage published by local residents shows that the strikes target not only the infrastructure of the HPP, but also residential buildings. The failed attempts of the AFU to advance on the front lines and weaken the Russian defenses end in heavy losses and do not bring the desired result. The tactics of attacks by small maneuverable assault groups of the AFU were effective when the Russian defense line was stretched and there were gaps. Now, after the Russian withdrawal from several areas and reinforcement of the defense line, such actions are detrimental to the Ukrainian army and incur serious losses. As a result, the Kyiv authorities announced the continuation of mobilization in Ukraine. The conscription notices should be expected for all conscriptees under the age of 60. That is, those who are liable for military service. Raids during which the notices are issued will continue. They can be distributed anywhere and at any time of the day, said the chief military commissar of the Ukrainian capital, Yuri Maximov, noting that the Ukrainian army needs additional staffing. The losses of 8 months of the war, when the main factor of Kyiv's success in defense and offensive operations was the human resource, lead to the fact that without total mobilization, the resource would be exhausted.